Hi there. Welcome to day 20 of 25 days discussing mental health awareness. Today's talk is really revisiting a subject that I was asked to cover again with a little bit more depth into a couple of areas. Raising awareness around suicide and suicide prevention, if possible, advice, if that's a thing. And I suppose, let's be honest, if somebody is set on committing suicide, you're probably the last person to know about it. But where we get some warning signs, and we'll discuss what some of those possibly might be, then we can look at ways that we can be more aware and what to do, etc., and maybe try and help these people. And you know, some of the infographics that I'm using, they're freely available off the internet. Lots of areas there, and there's a campaign in the UK using the word safe, so suicide awareness for everyone, which is great. You know, a lot of the particularly Hampshire, I noticed there, they've got a very good safe campaign. There's a suicide prevention awareness day, September the 10th every year. However, you know, I suppose it's not about being aware all the time. I said, but if you start to see some of the warning signs, and what would those be? Well, you know, if somebody's going through a hard time, and particularly, you know, there's sort of life-changing stuff, so loss of a loved one, loss of earnings maybe, or losing their job, becoming homeless, separation, divorce, serious injury, maybe long-term illness, etc., life-threatening illness, all these sorts of things could make you think, well, you know, they're not going to be firing on all cylinders. They're going to be probably a little bit upset. Yeah? So what would be some of the warning signs that, you know, you would sort of think, right, I need to sort of do something further with this. Okay, so if they are saying, you know, my life is worthless, you know, there's no point me being here. So that's definitely a giveaway, isn't it? Okay. So they're actually saying, you know, there's no point me being here. Okay. Feeling trapped. If they've said that, you know, I've got a feeling that I'm trapped, I've got no alternative, there's nothing I can do, I'm just trapped in this situation, it's mindless, it's endless, I can't see any future. Okay. Particularly people that might say, I'm feeling a burden to the others around me, particularly those people that have a condition where they might need looking after or need help, etc. Or they have a mental health condition that means that they need to have interventions and people's help, etc. So, you know, feeling like a burden. Engaging in risky behaviours. So, you know, particularly where that has not been the norm, but they're actually, you know, taking this in connection with other things. A history of suicidal behaviour in the past, so if they've made attempts in the past or said that they're going to make attempts. Frequently talking about death and, you know, dying, that sort of stuff, and it's a subject that they're bringing up constantly. Alcohol and drugs misuse. Okay, so particularly where that becomes, you know, a regular excessive use, etc. You know, alcohol is a depressant as such, brings the mood down, not necessarily ups it. Other drugs can be depressants as well as hyper. Yeah, so it's going to bring the mood down, so it's going to make people more susceptible to it. Having the means and possessing the means, and maybe showing you that they have the means, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with this, etc. So, you know, again, if their mood starts to change, you know, mood swings, they become irritable, sort of aggressive maybe as well, so showing out, lashing out, etc. So that's some of the things, yeah. One of the other sort of, I suppose, tells, yeah, one of the things that people will do is they'll start giving things away that are important to them. So maybe making arrangements for stopping newspapers, giving, you know, the pets and things, making sure pets are looked after, particularly pets, yeah. giving, things like clothing or, the cars, whatever, possessions that you think, well, they're going to need those. Okay, so clearly they're clearing the way as such. Okay. So again, there's sort of lots of anachronisms out there, or things to do, and there's a campaign that uses the word wait. Yeah, so wait. So watch out for signs of distress and changes in behaviour. So watching isn't necessarily taking action, but it's just making yourself aware that something's changing for this person. And again, you're not responsible as such for people all the time. If people are at risk from suicide, yes, you can be aware of it. But again, we're not responsible for anybody else in this world. We're responsible for our own actions. And I think that needs to be made fairly clear. Like I said there, if somebody's committed to taking their own life, unless you actually get them taken away and then put into secure accommodation, there's not a lot else that you can do to be with them 24/7. Because if they're gonna be clear about doing it, then they're going to find a way of doing it, and that's that, right? What we're trying to do is trying to look out for the signs where we have contact with them, help them if possible, and then make arrangements. But again, not making ourselves responsible for that process. Okay, this is another human being that we're talking about that may or may not be in charge of all of their faculties. Okay, and majority of people that do contemplate suicide, and I would say there's a very few people out there, I would believe, that at some point in their life they've not thought about ending it, for one reason or another. Got to a point where things just got too much, but pretty much either instantly or fairly soon after go, oh, that's stupid, I'll just go and do something else and get over it, whatever. But other people don't have that ability, maybe with a condition, and then mental health particularly has taken a downturn, then these thoughts can be sort of quite worrying and continue. The next part of wait, I suppose, is the key part, and particularly where you might be intervening as a first aider in mental health. And I, like I said, I do run courses, etc. But where you are acting as the person that's stepping in to intervene as such, asking them outright, are you contemplating suicide? Are you thinking of taking your own life? Are you thinking of completing suicide? Do you have suicidal thoughts? Okay. And again, that might be quite a difficult thing for you to do, and might be quite difficult for the other person to hear. However, it does does a few things. One, it clarifies the situation that you are concerned about this person. Two, it gets maybe through the person to the person there that you are quite worried about them, but it gives you clarity on whether they have, pretty much decided that that's what they're going to do, and they have the means, and this is how it's going to happen, etc. And you have then some things to do. Okay, so you can assure them that the feelings that they're having now will pass. It's passed before. These are the feelings that you're having because of a condition, etc. However, if you are concerned that somebody is in imminent danger of taking their own life, okay, and you don't have the means to actually prevent that, i.e. locking them up, and having the drugs and the therapy, etc. to treat that, you need to call 999. Okay, you need to call the emergency services and tell them that you have somebody with you that has told you that they're looking to take their life, they're looking to complete suicide, and you're very concerned for their safety. That is an imminent risk to life, and they will respond as an emergency to take that person to a place of safety and get them the help and the sort of treatment started that they need. They'll get them assessed, definitely. Okay. If you feel that this is a point where this person is not necessarily looking to take their life immediately, but actually, it is something that they're contemplating, but they're talking about it all the time. But if you ask them, are you thinking of taking your own life? Oh, no, it's not. But and they keep going back over, I don't know what to do and things like that. Then try and encourage them. Yeah, encourage them again. You're not responsible. You're not going to take them and strong arm them to go and see their doctor, but going to see their GP or a health professional, if they have a therapist, if they have a connection, if they have a mental health team, support, etc., encourage them to go and seek that help that they need. Okay, most definitely, at least go and see their GP. So again, encourage them, help them to make the phone call, help them, make the words available for them so that they can make the phone call, and just coach them through that if that's something that's difficult for them. So again, very clear that we're not responsible for this person, but if we looking out for somebody that we love or very close to somebody or somebody that we know at work and we see these things happening, then there's these simple things that we can do. Okay, so and again the discussion around the subject of suicide, okay. Because and this is my opinion, okay, I believe because particularly in society at the moment we're becoming fractured, become separate. Lots of things lead to people losing their way. Lots of people feel lost. Lots of people lose their sort of ability to feel value for themselves and all this sort of stuff, feeling trapped or worthless, medical conditions and all this sort of stuff. So, suicide particularly is a really difficult subject. But unless we start talking about it and discussing it, then it will always be that difficult subject and it will always be a particular problem. Now, I was discussing with Ruth the first aid course she's doing. She's doing the level 3 first aid in mental health course, and discussing the sort of demographics, the people that are taking their life, the type of people, and the number one group, the highest number of people, the biggest group, is men between 45 and 50. And sometimes it slips into the sort of over 50, around that sort of 45 to 55 age group, and then women, particularly in that group, sort of become about the third group. But the next biggest group is young people below the age of 25. So that's quite an interesting and worrying statistic. So where does this sort of trend come from? Well, again, theories, lots of information out on the internet there. Again, I'll go back to the point of veterans suicide. Okay, now veterans suicide is a subject, particularly America have done some research, Canadians have done research, UK doesn't do the figures. But if somebody is part of an organisation and then no longer are they part of that organisation for whatever reason, and they don't then feel engaged in either society or life, feel they've got some worth, that's likely to impact on them. So my perspective, ex-service people, veterans, etc., are going to have a struggle finding certain things that they used to get within the service. So that sense of meaning, that sense of purpose, feeling they've got some sort of belonging because maybe they've come back to an area that they moved away from 25 years ago, 25, 30 years, wherever the careers. Maybe they've managed to settle in the area, but again, don't feel engaged because of the type of work that they've done, etc. So whole loads of stuff there. The young, why under 25s are feeling suicidal. What is it about society in general that makes them feel like that? It could be the lack of engagement, maybe. We have social media, but we're not very sociable. We're lack of personal, and particularly at the moment, personal contact, personal connection, in groups, etc. We're very distant from each other. So finding that connection, maybe, peer pressure, pressure from the internet of being the perfect person, pressure from society, you know, marketing, that sort of stuff, whiz bang stuff, you know, buying stuff. So just the whole process of being alive in this sort of time frame can be quite stressful because of all the stuff out there that's bombarding us to be the perfect person, you know, and particularly where we've got retail therapy, you know, go and buy stuff and you'll feel better because this is the perfect thing that'll make you happy, and it doesn't. So, you know, we've got this sort of thing going on. Okay, so to go back over then what we're looking for. What are we looking for? Well, we're looking for people's changing behaviours. Yeah, we're looking for warning signs. Okay, and if you start to become concerned about somebody, some of the things that we're going to look for. So mood swings, you know, things that they say. It means listening, active listening, 2 ears, 1 mouth, in that order. Ask a question and then listen to what they have to say. Okay. Particularly if they're sort of life-changing stuff. Okay. So they split up, they're become homeless. You know, they're talking about, well, you know, what else am I going to do? Okay, feeling worthless, nothing for them to do, loss of purpose maybe, giving things away, strong record of using alcohol to excess, drug use, illegal drugs, start engaging in risky behaviours. So when we're given these sort of warning signs, it's up to us then to listen, okay, actively listen, and ask them, are you feeling suicidal? Is you know, suicide something you're thinking of? And depending on what your answer is, you then go, well, I seriously think we need to get you to the doctor, or I need to make an emergency call to get the 999 there, because this person is at risk of taking their life and that's an emergency. Okay, so if you feel that, you know, you're in a situation, what can you do? If you feel that you've got nowhere to go, okay, well, we've got the Samaritans out there, okay, and the Samaritans is the first port of call, really, that's there all the time. Okay, there's always somebody available. And then there's the other schemes, the safe schemes that I spoke about, suicide awareness for everyone. Different areas have different contact lines. There's lots of self-help groups out there. There's Mind that you can contact. Again, mental health awareness. But it is interesting that when we start talking about suicide, it brings up all sorts of emotions for us. It brings up all sorts of thoughts and feelings of maybe how does this fit? You know, why are people taking their lives in such a fantastic time of life? What are the things leading up to? And again, if you are truly on this sort of search of, you know, raising your awareness of mental health, good and challenging mental health, going out there and investing some time and looking at the statistics, looking at what the demographics are, some of the research into why people have this sort of behaviour, this challenge. Things that you can do then to maybe make yourself feel better, less likely to feel suicidal, but also then maybe focusing on how we can help others if they do feel that they have nowhere else to go and their suicide is the only answer for them. What can we do for them? How can we really sort of focus and help these people that, you know, clearly are having a really difficult time and we want to try and help? Okay, so I mentioned the WAIT acronym. I mentioned the SAFE acronym there, and I've put a few other bits and pieces up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these up on the. I'm not going to show you them because they're all backwards. I'm going to put these up on the Facebook page, and particularly where, if you've got any more questions about the suicide, what's to do, what's to look for, and actions to take, then either contact me. But there's lots of information out there, and particularly in your local area, particularly if you're not, local to me in Wales, you're all over the country. Different areas will have things that you can do, and they'll have little cards. Maybe there's cards that you can sort of print off, and particularly if you've got somebody that you're concerned about, you could print them a little piece of paper off and make sure they've got it with them, so they've always got a point to call. Having you available all the time is possibly not the best thing, okay, but you want to try and help. But again, signposting somebody to get the help that they need to their GP when they're feeling suicidal but are not contemplating it immediately, getting them into the mental health support teams. But again, if you feel that their life is at risk and they are seriously saying all the wrong things, all the wrong things, and you are worried, then call 999. Okay, it's life-threatening. It's emergency stuff, and again, more we can sort of talk about this, so that people that do have these feelings don't feel stigmatized about talking about them. They feel confident that if they're going to say to somebody, I really don't know what to do. I suppose in the past I'd probably think about ending it all, and somebody goes off, oh my god, I've got to ring the ambulance. No, okay, don't overreact, but I'm having these thoughts, what should I do? Well, you need to speak to your doctor. Okay, would you help me make a phone call, etc. So we're there to help people that are displaying these warning signs to us, but again, context of it is we're not there to look after people, be responsible for them. Although they might have mental health conditions, etc., we can help them, we can guide them, but we can't force people into doing stuff that they don't want to do. That's for the Mental Health Act, etc., to be enacted by the emergency services if that's needed. Okay, so I hope that's provided some clarity for some people that were thinking, talking about the suicide, and particularly where the suicide is as a response to discussions. We're talking about other conditions that have led to this. With people contemplating suicide, and it normally comes, with long-term health conditions, other depressions, anxiety, PTSD, maybe. So there's some other tell, and again, if we're not willing to talk about it, then we're not willing to pay attention to these people. If we don't pay attention, then we're not going to see these warning signs start to change for us. And realistically, that's normally where we get the information that we want, by paying attention, by knowing that somebody is struggling, and just by listening. Okay? And again, some people may not feel strong enough to reach out. A lot of people say, I would rather you reach out and speak to me, etc., whatever. Well, sometimes if we've not made that connection with people, it's really quite difficult just to sort of ring somebody off the bat. So again, if you're feeling okay and you're strong about it, and just reach out to some of your friends, make connections, spread your network, so that the people that you do know, if they are struggling, you start to build a relationship with them, so that if they do feel that they are challenged at a time, then they've got a chance to reach out to you, or you've got a little bit more knowledge about their behaviours changing, etc. You can at least instigate a conversation, because it's not just out of the blue. You're asking somebody, are you contemplating suicide? You're saying, I'm really concerned about you, what's going on? And then it gets to that point. So leading up to, okay? So, tough subject. But again, it's something that we need to get used to. If we're going to hit into these numbers, and if you start to delve into some of the information there about the numbers of people that take their life, they feel that that's the only thing they can do. It's shocking. Okay, and we as a society have an obligation to try and help each other as human beings. So I just... those people that are listening now, people watching this, reach out, get some information, be there, And if you're struggling yourself, reach out to me or anybody else that you know, and just say, this is how I'm feeling. Okay? Right. That's us done for today. And tomorrow, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do tomorrow. So got that Friday feeling. Only a few more days left. I've got a couple of other things that I'm going to talk about. One of them is long-term medical conditions, particularly where that has an impact on your well-being for a long period of time. So we're going to talk about that in the next few days. I want to discuss what's going to happen in the future. Maybe we do some more talks, maybe not. Maybe we create another point of contact, maybe through Facebook. Maybe we just have less of these, maybe Monday to Friday. I don't know. There's a few options out there, but again, without your feedback, I don't know whether it's worth carrying on doing this stuff, whether you actually want to do more stuff. Just send me a message saying, yeah, I've enjoyed listening to the messages. They've been really helpful. And yeah, can we do some more of them? Again, might not be every day, but maybe Monday to Friday, have the weekends off, or maybe do once every other day, or every day, whatever you sort of think is best. So over to you. This is 5 more days of this one, and then we can call it a day. Or if you want more, then let's say we want some more, and we can do some more subjects and do a little bit more about well-being and actually how we can get ourselves feeling better out of situations, maybe, and long-term plans about life-changing stuff, etc. So working at that. So be nice to each other. Love you lots. See you tomorrow.